Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This is the Jeanine Pirro Show. Now, here's Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Welcome back to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation Show. Joining us now is the president of the League of American Workers and also a TV surrogate for the Trump campaign in 2016 and 2020. He also worked on the J.D. Vance campaign for Senate in 2022. You've probably seen him on Fox. His name is Steve Cortes. And he was previously on a Hispanic Advisory Council. So let's join Steve in welcoming Steve to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation Show. Now, Steve, I want to talk to you about an article that you wrote that I just took a look at, and I think it's phenomenal. It is an article that talks about the illegals, the foreign flags, and the foreign protesters. We are now at a point where we are literally delivering on President Trump's promises to remove illegals who are criminals from this country. And you're seeing something unusual. Why don't you tell us what that is?
Sure. Something unusual and, frankly, I think offensive and obnoxious. Okay. And I say this as a son of an immigrant, of a legal immigrant to the United States. And by the way, I think legal immigrants are some of the people most offended by the way the illegals are acting, because legal immigrants know how difficult, how expensive, time-consuming it is to become a legal citizen of this country. But what we're seeing, and this is what I write about in my Substack article, is foreign flags and foreign protesters waving these international flags and blocking roads all across America. It's particularly virulent in Los Angeles, which isn't entirely surprising because, of course, California has a big concentration of illegals and has a lot of American radicals who are their allies and believe in open borders, including major elected officials like, of course, their governor and others, Nancy Pelosi and thankfully now former Vice President Kamala Harris, all of whom are allies of these illegals who are literally shutting down freeways, the 101 out there. And by the way, this is a serious crime to shut down a road. And for some people, it's not just an aggravation. Okay, it is a major hindrance to their life. I believe it's a form of assault when you prevent somebody from moving where they want to move. Right, that's a form of assault. But in addition to just the sort of practical aspect of those riots, and some of them are riots. I mean, they're attacking police. What I think the takeaway should be is that, look, Donald Trump won a momentous mandate victory. He won every swing state. He won the popular vote. This was the biggest Republican national win since the 1980s. His number one signature issue was immigration. Okay, so in other words, the people clearly have spoken on these issues, that we want control of the border and we want dangerous illegal immigrants out. I want all illegal immigrants out, but we want to prioritize the dangerous ones first, the people who we know have been convicted of crimes either in their homeland or even here in the United States. That's the priority of ICE. That's what the deportation agenda is right now carrying out and implementing, thank goodness. And what we see are these obnoxious foreign radicals waving foreign flags on our soil. And by the way, if they're that proud of those countries, they are very welcome to go back there on their own.
I knew you were going to say that,
It shouldn't be on us to have to arrest them and transport them to those homelands. If they love those homelands so much, you are very, very welcome to transport yourself back to those places.
Well, Steve, the article is a great article, and I want to start with, it's called Foreign Flags and Foreign Protesters, folks. It's Steve Cortes' Substack. But when you talk about closing major transportation arteries, you're right. I mean, you call it a premeditated form of assault. As a prosecutor, I'm kind of dancing around that.
Sure.
But the idea is that it is an interference and an interruption in commerce. A lot of that commerce having to do not only with business, but with safety. People on the way to the hospital delivering a baby, all the crazy things, who's got a heart attack, all the crazy things that happen. And honestly, Steve Cortes, I don't think that we're tough enough on the people who shut down our transportation systems and our arteries. Now, you're going to laugh, but I remember, I think it was the climate change activist, Steve Cortes, who in Italy, they ended up stopping some of the roads and interfering with the roads in Italy. And you know what happened? Forget the police. The Italians got up and just started throwing them up on the side of the road and just getting back in their little diesel trucks and driving along. I mean, you got to see some of the humor in this because it is infuriating. And you know, you talk about naturalized citizens, Steve. As a judge, I swore in newly naturalized citizens for years. And it was their most proudest moment for many of them. The family, you know, their employers, everyone came. They waved the American flag. And we're missing that. We're missing an allegiance to the country that is taking them in, giving them a homeland. But besides, you know, all of that nationalism, let's talk about the crime. Let's talk about the fact that when we make an effort to remove the criminal illegals, we're having a lot of trouble, obviously, with the people like Pritzker and Brandon Johnson and Newsom. But I got to tell you, you know, with Tom Homan and now with Pam Bondi as the Attorney General, they're saying, hey, look, under Article 8, Section, well, I think it's, 1324, Title 8, 1324. If you harbor or you prevent us from accessing someone, we're going to charge you with harboring an illegal and obstruction. So there is a criminal component to this if they stop people, if they stop ICE from making arrests. But I think, and I want to get your take on this, Steve, how long do you think this is going to take, number one? And number two, how far should they go?
Yeah. Both great questions. In terms of how long it will take, unfortunately, it's going to take years, right? I don't think this is weeks or months. This is a years-long process. The U.S. border, here's the problem. The U.S. border has effectively been open since the 1980s. The only time that we really got serious operational control was in Trump's first term. And even then, toward the end of his term, right? Because he walked into a mess. And then, of course, so it's been bad for decades. And a bipartisan failure, by the way. Establishment Republicans have been every bit as complicit and blameworthy as the Democrats have on open borders nonsense. And establishment Republicans in Washington, because they previously did the bidding of big business, were in favor of a constant flow of cheap labor and willing to look the other way on illegal migration. So to answer your question, though, to undo decades of lawlessness is not going to be quick or easy, but it's necessary. And, you know, we're getting started. As far as how far it should go in the prioritization. And I will tell you this, by the way, too. I don't want to only cite the election, which is the most important poll, you know, if you will, of all on immigration and Donald Trump, but also polling that my organization, I do a lot of polling. And when we poll this about, and we don't separate out dangerous illegal migrants versus we just said illegal migrants, mass deportation of illegal migrants. It comes in at plus 18 in favor. It's 55 to 37. That's pretty significant. By the way, even among Hispanics, it's plus 9. So
absolutely.
Americans overwhelmingly agree with mass deportation. And again, they prove that at the ballot box, not just polling. Now, how far should it go? Excuse me, there's a little more disagreement. Now, I think they all need to go, personally. But I think there's widespread agreement that people who have committed additional crimes on top of the crime of coming into this country have to go. And, you know, and let me give you, it's one of the worst examples, but it's very telling. Laken Riley, the beautiful young American girl who was killed on the seemingly safe college campus, the University of Georgia, in the middle of the day jogging. Jose Antonio Ibarra, her killer, not only did he cross the border illegally, Joe Biden's open border, but he was then arrested twice in the so-called sanctuary city of New York. He was arrested. And then in Athens, Georgia, where he killed her. And Georgia in general is a red state, but Athens is a college town, is very blue, very liberal. That's a sanctuary city. Arrested again neither time turned over to ICE for deportation.
I got to stop you there, Steve Cortes, just for a second. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but here's part of the problem. When you say Republicans and Democrats are responsible because maybe Republicans want workers, the Democrats alone are responsible for the no bail laws across this country. So Jose Ibarra, I mean, obviously, dirtbag murderer, endangering the welfare of a child in New York. That was a crime he was charged with. But more than that, he would have been locked up in New York as an illegal who committed a crime, but for the no bail laws. Yeah. That the Democrats created because, it's terrible. It's not fair to put them in jail. Well, they've got no connection to this country. The purpose of bail is to make sure you return to court. If you're illegal, you've got no roots in the community. But I just had to spin on the Democrats. But keep going. Now, how far do we go?
You're 100% right. And by the way, Republicans now have gotten in line, right? Largely thanks to Donald Trump, thanks to the America First movement. I'm more talking historically that the Bush wing of the Republican Party was very different. But thankfully, no, you have now almost unanimity among Republican voters and office holders, even if they don't believe it, down deep, they're too afraid to buck the voters, right?
What do you do, Steve? What do you do, Steve Cortes, about the person who is, has got a business? Okay. They're illegal. They've been in the country 20 years. I don't know what the business is. Let's say they make, they make sandwiches or something, or they've got a family. Their kids are in schools. How far do we go?
It's Ocean Drive in Coney Island.
Ocean Drive is the only luxury rentals in New York with a spectacular ocean view. You wake up in the morning and breathe that ocean air. I'll certify that you're going to live 10 years longer. When I became successful, I wanted to live on the ocean. If you have worked hard, you deserve an apartment on Ocean Drive too. Go to oceandrivenyc.com and reward yourself.
If you're a policeman, fireman, doctor, nurse, or teacher, you qualify for a limited time offer at oceandrivenyc.com. Terms and conditions apply. Here's John Katsimatidis Jr.
Are you paying too much for your home or business heating oil? My family owns and operates United Metro Energy, and we can offer you a lower price and better service right now. No other heating oil company can match our tremendous buying power. We own our own refinery, our own storage tanks, and the largest fleet of company-owned trucks.
We get a 20-cent a gallon tax credit with United Metro Energy's biofuel.
We're a community-conscious, family-run business.
We're here for you 24/7.
Contact me anytime.
Email john@umecny.com.
Hey, loves. Haley Steinfeld here. Let's be real. When I'm on the red carpet, everyone wants to know whose dress I'm wearing. But here's the thing. We're so focused on those details, we're missing something that's actually way more important. Breast health. It's wild. Breasts get so much attention, but they're still so ignored when it matters most. Don't know what I'm talking about? Tune in on February 9th and visit yourattentionplease.com. That's yourattentionplease.com. See you then.
Yeah. Listen, I'm of the view that they all need to go. They can reapply. And come back into the United States the correct way and get in the back of the line. And I know that might sound very, very harsh, but the reality is, if we don't get serious and strict about migration enforcement, it's going to continue as it has for decades.
But now, Trump is Steve. Trump is. He's going to shut that border. Anybody who comes in now, get your butt back to wherever the hell you came from. Okay, but I'm talking about. He's going to lock down that border. I'm not concerned about that. How far do we go?
Yeah. Well, listen, I think we'll reach a consensus on that issue, and probably I am to the right of where most Americans are. I'll be the first to admit that, okay?
Yeah.
Probably most people aren't as hawkish on it as I am, and that's fine. That's what's supposed to happen in a democracy. But the point is, we can't even talk about those issues, the kind of tougher cases, until we get all the easy cases, meaning the clear, dangerous, derelict people, until we get all of them out. And that's not a small group of people, as you well know, Jeanine. Until we get those people out, I don't even think we can have that then consensus conversation on, okay, what do we do with people who are illegal but seem to be otherwise pretty good residents of the United States? That we can reach a consensus there, but only once we've deported the mass of dangerous folks, and it's not small.
Yeah, no, it is not small. And let me ask you about the USAID just for a couple minutes that we have left. The money that's been going to these foreign countries for absurd things like LBGT operas and trans surgeries in other countries. has anyone ever looked at this before now? I mean, is this just corruption? Right. To me, it's corruption. To me, Steve Cortes, and I may be wrong about this, but you don't send money to some non-government organization in a foreign country that does nothing for the United States, and we're not promoting American interests without somebody giving you a kickback. I'm telling you, it's the foreign aid where all the corruption is. You ask Bob Menendez and all the rest of them, and Joe Biden got started with Senate Foreign Relations and that money. So talk to me. What are your thoughts?
I agree. How much of it gets funneled back to the United States via NGOs, via, so-called foundations, pretend charities, Clinton Foundation? My strong guess is quite a lot of it. By the way, corollary, I think the same thing happens in Ukraine, right? We just had Zelensky, and this is related, but we just had Zelensky say, hey, you guys sent $175 million. And he said, I believe the number he says, we only got 77. Okay, well, where's the other roughly $100 billion? And how much of it got back to the United States, to leftists and globalists in the United States? So I think you're exactly right. Like, as awful as what we're learning is so far, as awful as the news is, once we start peeling this onion back more, I believe it's going to get far, far worse from here. And thank goodness we're starting to do this. And we have transparency, finally.
Well, and one of the things about Ukraine, Steve Cortes, is I remember the war starts, right? All of a sudden, Jill Biden is going over and Nancy Pelosi is going over. And my favorite, Steve, is Randy Weingarten. Randy Weingarten is going to Ukraine. Why? Right. You know what her answer was? I'm comparing the educational system of Ukraine. Are you stupid woman? There is no educational system. The schools are bombed out. I mean,
well, not to mention, Jeanine, should they be taking advice from us? Okay, we just got test scores out, and eighth grade reading has never been worse. Never in the history of the United States. So we are the last people who should be instructing anyone on how to do education, right?
Yeah, it is amazing. Anyway, Steve Cortes, it's great having you on the show. We look forward to having you back again. Thanks so much for joining us on the Tunnel to Towers Foundation show.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate
All right, take care. All right, guys, really smart guy there. Very, very interesting. Great article he wrote. Hopefully Steve will be coming back. And up next here on the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation, I will be gaveling out with my closing argument. It's all coming up here on the Red Apple Audio Network.
It's the Judge Jeanine Show.
Larry Kudlow here with an urgent warning. While we celebrate Trump's historic win, inflation continues to drain your IRA and 401k, and China is now targeting your money with a kill shot on the dollar. That's why thousands of Americans are shielding their savings with gold and contacting the experts at Colonial Metals Group. Gold has protected American wealth through every financial war. For a free 2024 gold guide that explains everything, please go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908. The experts at Colonial Metals Group are the only folks I trust to help you bulletproof your wealth with gold. Go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908. That's 800-621-3908 for a free 2024 gold guide to learn how you can protect your life's work, and if you qualify for a free home safe and up to $7,500 in free silver right now. freegoldguide.com/Kudlow.